Setting the scene, a crime yet to be solved. Every great detective story begins with a crime, but in this case, the crime has not yet been committed. There's no body, no smoking gun, and no broken Rolex by the fountain. Instead, our mystery is this: which rider will end up cracking first in the Vuelta a España? The suspects? Two men with vastly different resumes and temperaments. Jonas Vingegaard, a Danish iceberg with multiple Tour de France crowns, and Juan Ayuso, the Spanish legend who looks like he was genetically engineered in a laboratory funded by UAE oil money and adolescence rage. The Vuelta is a race that doesn't forgive weakness, unlike the Tour, which at least allows you a flat sprint stage or a rest day disguised as a peloton parade. The Vuelta is just endless ambushes. Even the so-called flat days in Spain involve random 20% goat tracks that someone's grandmother once walked her donkey up in 1964. If the Tour is the Oscars, the Vuelta is the underground indie film festival, where the director shows up in sandals and a half-drunk bottle of Rioja. So, the question isn't merely who is stronger, it's who can survive, and that's where the detective lens comes in. Because strength alone never solves the Vuelta. You need cunning, luck, and teammates who don't mysteriously vanish at the final 5 kilometers. On paper, Jonas Vingegaard is the logical pick. He's the man who spent 2 summers casually destroying Tadej Pogacar's morale like a cat knocking glasses off a table. He has the endurance, the icy poker face, and the ability to launch a 6.8 watts per kilo attack on any climb longer than his grocery list. The bookies will naturally give him the favourite tag. But then there's Ayuso, the home rider, the baby-faced assassin, the man who once looked at his UAE team bus and allegedly asked if they could just, quote, buy Visma too. He has speed, raw climbing, firepower, and most importantly, the advantage of being Spanish in Spain. That means the roadside fans will scream like he's the second coming of Miguel Indurain, even if he's just grabbing a gel from the car. The psychology boost is enormous, unless of course it turns into suffocating pressure that makes him ride like he's dragging an anchor made of expectations. The detective must consider all suspects, all motives and all weaknesses. Vingegaard's, well, he's coming off a long recovery, and let's not forget Visma's recent terrible press about failing to protect their golden goose. Stories leaked of Jonas being left alone in the wild, like a forlorn kite flapping on a fishing line. If that pattern continues, Ayuso may not just have to beat Jonas, he might just let Jonas's own teammates do the job for him. The alibis, stamina and speed under scrutiny. Detectives love alibis. Who was where, when and why? But in cycling, the alibi isn't about being absent from the crime, it's about proving you can show up every single day. So let's talk stamina. Jonas Vingegaard has proven time and time again that he is strong. This is a man who thrives on attrition. If cycling were trench warfare, he'd be the one quietly rationing his biscuits and emerging after 3 weeks with a calm, "I'm still fresh." He demonstrated in the Tours of 2022 and 23 that while Pogacar burns bright like a firework, Jonas is more like a glacier, slow, crushing, and inevitable. His stamina isn't flashy, but it suffocates opponents. Juan Ayuso, meanwhile, is still building his alibi in this department. Yes, he's ridden top 10s in Grand Tours before, and yes, he's dazzled in 1-week races. But the question remains, can his youthful exuberance last across 3 weeks of relentless Spanish suffering? He has the speed, no one doubts his capacity to rip for a 10-minute climb like he's late to school, but can he do it on stage 19, with a 3,500 metre of climbing already baked into his legs, and a Danish Terminator breathing down his neck? That's the alibi Ayuso hasn't yet proven. Now let's examine speed. If the Vuelta comes down to a punchy finish or even a time trial, Ayuso might have the upper hand. He's faster in short, explosive efforts, and unlike Jonas, he actually enjoys sprinting against mortals. Vingegaard, bless his heart, sprints like a man trying to escape a bee swarm. There is effort, there's also chaos, but not too much top-end speed. But speed without stamina is like a prime suspect without motive, suspicion. This is not enough for conviction. Ayuso's explosive speed might give him stage wins, sure, but Jonas's relentless stamina is what turns Grand Tours into personal diaries of domination. Yet here's the twist. In the Vuelta, stamina isn't linear. Riders don't simply fade. They collapse, recover, resurrect, and collapse again. One day can erase weeks of excellence. So if Jonas has a single crack, if Visma abandons him again like they did in the Tour, if he finds himself on a climb with no teammates and Ayuso launches a vicious ambush, that stamina advantage could vanish like a red herring in Act 3. Verdict so far. Jonas has the stronger alibi for survival. Ayuso has the more dangerous weapon for sudden attacks. Detectives note, both are guilty of talent, but one may be guilty of poor timing. The crime scene. Each stage, each day. Now, we'll talk through the crime scene itself, the 2025 Vuelta stage by stage, as though the route planner himself were an accomplice in this mystery. Stage 1, Barcelona TTT. Team versus team. Historically, Visma nails these. Ayuso's UAE, on the other hand, rides TTTs like drunk uncles attempting synchronized swimming. Early time loss for Ayuso is likely. Jonas probably gains his first alibi. Stage 2 to 5 are the early hills. Perfect ambush terrain. Expect Ayuso to throw some spicy attacks here, feeding off local fans screaming, "Vamos Juanito!" Jonas will shrug, ride tempo, and stare blankly at his stem, because that's what glaciers do. Stage 6 is the first summit finish. Here's where Jonas will lay down the law. Expect a cold-blooded attack, a power file that makes nutritionists faint, and Ayuso crossing the line thinking, how does he still look like he hasn't broken a sweat? Stage 7 to 10, medium mountains, wind, crossbows from Basque farmers. Here's the real drama beginning. Visma's weakness in supporting Jonas could be exposed here. If Wout van Aert isn't there, if Sepkus is mysteriously, quote, saving himself, Jonas might get isolated. Ayuso will sense it, and a detective would note, motive means opportunity. Stage 11, individual time trial. Jonas isn't bad here, but Ayuso's aero position looks like he was sculpted in a wind tunnel. I reckon he claws back seconds, maybe even minutes. Suddenly the case is wide open. Stage 12 to 15, back-to-back high mountains. The Spanish Sierra Nevada becomes the interrogation room. This is where stamina goes to die. Jonas thrives. Ayuso will either rise like a phoenix or fold like IKEA instructions. Stage 16, flat but stressful. Someone will crash, and someone always does. Let's pray it's not either of our suspects, but remember, Jonas has previous bad luck in, quote, harmless stages. Stage 17, Queen Stage. The verdict is written here. If Jonas is still in yellow, red, whatever jersey, he'll suffocate Ayuso into submission. But if Ayuso is within striking distance, he'll attack relentlessly, weaponizing Spanish terrain, Spanish fans, and maybe even Spanish weather. Final stage, Madrid. Traditionally a parade, but this is Spain. Expect cobbles, chaos, and possibly a random goat. If Ayuso is close on the GC, he could attempt the unthinkable. Jonas, however, is clinical. He'll roll in, poker-faced, sipping champagne out of a bidon. So the crime scene tells us this. Jonas has the long game advantage. Ayuso has the chaos advantage. A detective must remember, chaos has ruined more perfect crimes than meticulous planning ever has. What's your opinion? Comment down below what you think might happen. Make your predictions in my comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like on today's video for good luck, and comment down below what you think. Subscribe if this is your first time here to stay up to date with all of the latest cycling news, cycling drama and cycling results.